Hey, Steve Magnante here at High Octane Classics in Auburn, Massachusetts, with perhaps one of the most exotic Ford production cars in its history. Speaking of history, Ford celebrated its 100th anniversary with the 2005 and 2006 Ford GT as seen here. Now, it celebrates the original Ford GT40 of the 1960s, but the problem is a company called Saphir Industries owned the rights to making GT40 replicas, fiberglass cars, and aluminum, but those are replicas, but Ford did not get the rights to use the term GT40. Thus, the Ford GT was born. And a lot of these cars were built. 4,083 were built, which is a small number, but kind of a big number if you're looking for one. Of course, when these cars were new, they sold for $139,995 base price. And to many people, that was a screaming bargain. And frankly, it really was in the time. A Ferrari or Porsche or Lamborghini of this period would have been multiples of that money. So again, $139,995 base price on the Ford GT with a 205-mile-an-hour top speed capability, aluminum body, hand constructed by Celine Cars of Wixom, Michigan, and a very exotic piece, aluminum body skin and a lot of magnesium and other exotic materials in these cars. What really makes them crazy is the mid-engine architecture. More on that in a second. But in the meantime, the thing I love about these cars is the fact that the original GT40s had a bubble in the top here, the ones from the 1960s for Le Mans racing to accommodate the driver's helmet. But on these ones, the doors open in a way that is more accommodating to civilians and earthlings, as it were. Pop yourself right in there. And tributes to the original Ford GT40 of the 1960s Le Mans race cars are the seats with those circulating circuits right there, the little buttons, and that was a nice tribute. And they actually function, they keep you nice and cool. Of course, air conditioning is a standard feature. The toggle switches in the dash. And this one has the optional McIntosh sound system, which is a $4,000 upcharge, and it has a CD player, which is news to me. I love those. I have 100 CDs in my collection, so CDs are where it's at. So this 2005 Ford GT has a CD player. Yes, it does. And 6-speed manual, again, 550 horsepower from the 5.4-liter dual-overhead cam supercharged modular motor under the window here. And a lot of things, everything on this car does function. These are cooling vents right here. And of course, more cooling ducts here. Nothing here fake, bogus. It's all here for a reason. And of course, power windows, of course. And power everything on these cars. Just a beautiful piece. Now, this one is a low mile example, 6,710 miles. I don't know how somebody resisted driving this car for that many miles, but it's nearly brand new in the bag. Let's take a peek. Speaking of power accessories, right here we use the key to open the gas filler right there. It's a security feature, but it pays into the original GT40s for the 60s, the quick fill fuel filler right there. And at the other side of the car, we'll see yet another key for yet another function. And again, this one has the standard alloy wheels right here. The BBS wheels are a little slight upcharge, but these are more delicate and better looking wheel in my estimation. 19-inch wheels or 18-inch wheels in the front, 19s in the back, staggered wheels and tires. And the front of this car, here's the radiator assembly right here. And of course, the coolant lines go under the car through the cockpit to the engine. And this does function to apply some downforce at speed. And again, 205 miles an hour was a realistic number in one of these cars. And here's another key that does yet another thing right here. If you have to open the bonnet or the hood, you turn this right here, and then there it is. And of course, the mid-engine architecture, more on that in a second, gets the engine away from the nose of the car. And some room in here for, maybe an overnight bag, perhaps. And of course, these are factory equipped with a tow hook right there, and a battery charger and an air compressor, an air pump. Not that you need those things. This car is basically new. And aluminum body skin on these cars. And again, the racing stripes on this were a factory option. A total of 503 cars were built in this color combination, which is heritage white with the blue racing stripe, which of course is America's international racing color right there, going back to the 1950s, 60s, 70s, etc. And again, 83% of people opted to have the stripes. You could actually have striped Elite if you wanted to be sort of undercover and not get the stripes, slight cash discount on that. So striped Elite was a possibility. And not that you're going to be inconspicuous in one of these cars. Okay, we talked about the mid-engine architecture. Let's open the deck lid and have a look at what that is like. Okay, we've teased it long enough. Here's a look at that 5.4-liter 4-valve 4-cam mod motor, 550 horsepower, supercharged right here. Massive engine, 550 horse, again, 500 foot-pounds of torque. And again, rear engine architecture, which basically puts the vehicle's mass very close to, 40-60, with more mass on the rear wheels than the front, which is ideal for road racing and optimum handling. Of course, the structure in here is a lot of aluminum, and struts, aluminum A-arms all the way around, and just great example of Ford engineering at its very best. And again, Ford really was and is a powerhouse in the universal or international design and manufacturing world, and this is pretty much their tour de force. It's like Ford saying happy birthday to us in 2005 for the 100th anniversary, and this is basically the crown on top of the Ford jewel. Here we have the intercooler at the back to keep the supercharged pressures denser and cooler, air inlet here, and of course the air feeds right in here to the air filter box, as it were, right there, right here. And these are totally emissions compliant. They have to be. Massive exhaust system right there with catalytic converters in place, and a 5 or 6-speed manual transaxle hiding down low, magnesium case, and just really ZR rated tires. Once again, 205 miles per hour was certainly very possible in one of these cars. Closed road, please. Dry sump oiling system right here. And the 5.4 is the only Ford motor at this point in time that came with an aluminum block. The GT motor, the Mustangs at this point in time had an iron block, aluminum heads, but again, the Ford GT was given the aluminum block in production, and again, would trickle down to the GT500 a few years later, but this is the engine I have right here, the aluminum block, aluminum head GT engine right here, 5.4 liters. So let's close the deck lid. And by the way, this is not plastic. This is a glass panel right here with a window defogger right there. So this is completely ready for Main Street, USA. Designed for Le Mans, or Le Mans if you're French, but totally capable of being driven on a day-to-day basis. In fact, when I was at Hot Rod Magazine, one of the guys who was an ad sales guy, his name was Carl Brower. He now writes for Edmunds.com, and at $139,995, Carl was able to buy one of these cars new. He drove it daily for about a year in Los Angeles and loved it. He raved at the 25 mile per gallon fuel economy if you drive it with an egg under the gas pedal. But again, a beautiful car. And here, powered by Ford, a little brag tag right here. Kind of goes back to the 1960s. The Shelby GT40s, again, powered by Ford. Ford, patting itself on the shoulder, rightfully so, for good engineering and good power. Getting back to the mid-engine architecture, here we have Motor Trend magazine here from 1970 with the mid-engine Corvette. Now, Chevrolet has been dancing with the idea of mid-engine cars, but it took them 50 years after this prototype was shown to the world to actually come out with the C8, which has mid-engine architecture. And so there it is. But here's another car that was mid-engine in semi-mass. This is an American Motors AMX3. About 3 or 4 of these things were built in Italy. Again, AMX 40100. But here's the engine right here in the back, where it kind of belongs if you want to have an ideal handling vehicle. And here is being shown in Italy where they were built. And more on the Ford, or on the Chevy mid-engine Corvette. This, again, the never was car, but here's the engine layout right here. You can see on this one here, the engine's mounted transversely, side by side, kind of an unusual picture. But again, 50 years later, Duntau's dream of a mid-engine Corvette would finally come to pass in 2020 with the C8 Corvette. And this is sort of the one of those cars, but taken to 12/10 potential. And the power of these things is amazing. 550 horse doesn't sound like a lot. It's a bunch in a car that might weigh 3,200 pounds with all the amenities of an LTD and full comfort. And again, crash protection, federally mandated bumpers right here, totally compliant. And speaking of the exhaust system, catalytic converters, nice and clean. The center exit dual exhaust right here. A nice touch right there. Another touch that's kind of cool, the original GT40s, which were built, well, not in England, but basically Carcraft built those in Michigan, but they used Ford Cortina, British taillights, the circular design right here. So Ford designers rightfully and nicely incorporated a Ford Cortina-esque taillight on the Ford GT when they brought it back in 2005, 2006. So Ford is fully aware of its own history and paid tribute to it with cars like this. This car is a one-owner example with under 7,000 miles. It's a great example of a breed, and it's unmodified. No blower chips, no pulleys, nothing. It's totally bone stock, and that's a fine thing. 550 horsepower. Great example of the breed.